Bengals Army, how we doing? We got Chris and Tony with us. I'm Dusty, back for another episode. How you guys doing?
Hanging out.
Just a little head shake. Not
the
doing
head
great.
the head nod.
Everyone's like, I don't want to talk first. Anyway.
Yeah. All right, guys. We got some cool talking points, but we're going to hit on the previous episode. We had Dale Altman from Bengals and Brews, and we had Anthony Kazinza on from Cincy Jungle. Both super good dudes. Appreciate them. Thankful for having them on. So we talked a little bit at some point about these hats. They look a little goofy on me because my head's shaped weird, but it's all right. That's why I turn them backwards. But Dale's got Ted Karras on his show, and they're live right now as we speak. So congrats to them for getting Ted on. I listened to a little bit of it. Sound great the first half hour that I got to listen. Ted seems like a super awesome dude. Matt, the guy that's on there with him, a good dude. I had my hat order it wasn't mixed up, but I had the old hat. And then literally the next day they had these new different styles that fit my head a little better. They weren't
the mid-crown. Yeah, the mid-crown hats.
That's how my
hats too.
So yeah, I contacted them and said, hey, can I exchange this? They were super cool. Exchanged it out. So really, really thankful for that. Probably would have bought another set, but glad I didn't have to. Right. So that was cool. I'm a cheapskate, I guess. Say what I want in the comments. It's cool. But now on to talk some Bengals stuff. We got some contracts coming up that we're hoping to get done this offseason. We got obviously Joe Burrow, the big one, and then we got Logan Wilson, and probably everybody that's a Bengals fan favorite contract outside of Joe Burrow, which is T. Higgins. Everyone that is outside the Bengals organization is probably not thinking too much about T. Everybody should, because T. Higgins is a dog. He is literally a number one receiver. He is a guy that is just super productive, and you should want him on your team. So the Bengals want him. We draft him once again, a second-round receiver. Everybody passed on him. He comes to the Bengals, balls out. How we feel about this, guys? We think we're going to get T because we know his agent is not super friendly with the Bengals. Yep. So what are we thinking?
Well, I got to pose the question to the group first, not to pivot real quick, but are we team – I'll say this to you guys. Are you guys team Burrow first and everything else structured around that, or are you guys knocking out what we can right now while we wait on the Burrow contract? Because I go back and forth on this one. We talk about T. Higgins right now. We want to get him signed on the team. We know it's going to be a big deal. We know here in a couple of years Chase is going to come down the line and want as much, if not more money. But are we going to structure the team deals around the Joe Burrow contract because he's going to get the bulk of the load here, or are we going to get T done first and then Joe Burrow?
Chris, you can go ahead. I know my answer, but I want to hear what Chris has to say.
I personally think that obviously Joey Burrow comes first. The way that I think that the Bengals are going about it, which is the way that I think it probably needs to be gone about, is that you kind of have to have the structure for a lot of things in place before either side takes a deal. Because like as Joe Burrow, you're not going to say, all right, I'm going to structure this deal so we can keep all these pieces around me. And then all of a sudden T's agent says, no, we want $29 million a year for 5 years. And then the Bengals are like, no, we're not going to pay you that. And now Joe just took less money and T's not there. He's not able to keep that weapon around him. Right. But in T's situation, he can't put himself like, even if the Bengals offered him a $30 million contract over 5 years, like there's no way that he can take that and not, like, if it affects the Joe Burrow contract, he's going to become the biggest villain in like Cincinnati history. So like, you got to kind of have those things work together. But if you got to rank one over the other, it's obviously you have the quarterback. Like you got to get Joe Burrow done. And then everything else kind of can fall into place after that.
Yeah. So I agree with that. I think Joe needs to get done. I think the weird state that we're in is with Justin Herbert. Do they want Justin Herbert to get this get his deal done and see what those numbers are? Because the Bengals they pay quarterbacks and they pay their weapons.
Mhm.
So we have two great weapons and they're coming up on back-to-back years. So it's kind of a weird situation on what they're going to do with the weapon wise. But Joe Burrow is 100%. It's going to get done. If it doesn't get done, there's going to be riots. It's going to be a weird situation, man.
Yep.
So I think what they want, I think they truly want Joe to have a contract he deserves. So I think they want Justin Herbert's to get done first, just for the fact to be like, okay, this is how much we appreciate you. But the thing is expanding that contract through to make it more team friendly. So if you can extend the years like a 6, 7, 8-year contract, you can front load it, you can back load, you can do different things to make it a little more team friendly. Not super good with contracts, but I know there's just maneuvering you can do to make things better. T. Higgins, I think he's a guy. I mean, obviously they liked him. They took him 33rd overall. I believe 33rd, right? Yeah, 33rd overall. So he's basically a first round pick. And there was a lot of teams that took him, but there was a lot of people that wanted that 33rd pick. There was a lot of teams, and they talked about that had offers on the table, and they stood their ground. They wanted T. I think they're going to make a big push to have T there. And I think this team wants to play together. I think they like each other. They came up together. T and Joe were in the same draft class. Logan Wilson, same draft class. I think there's a camaraderie there, and they like playing together. So I don't know if it'll happen. I truly believe that Joe will be there, and I truly believe that Jamar is going to be there. But T is kind of like this weird in-between state, but I think they're going to try their best to get him there. And I think Joe stated previously that he wants weapons. Not saying the team-friendly hometown discount thing, because these guys have a short time span to make their money. But respectively, I think Joe's smart enough, hey, championships, and I can make so much money. I can do different things with it. I can make more money with this money, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I truly think we're going to keep our weapons. Logan Wilson, I think Jermaine Pratt was kind of the weird outlier with how much, a lot of people didn't think he was going to be there. We talked about before, we didn't think Jermaine Pratt was going to stay. We were kind of surprised by it, just different tweets and different things he said. But he took a good deal. I think it was a steal of a deal that we got him for. Logan Wilson, what's he going to ask for? What's he going to want? He's got maybe a little more upside, but I think keeping the weapons with Joe, draft like we did this past year with defense, and keep moving forward. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys, but again, I might be in this minority camp here. I think the Joe Burrow deal, we're going to be waiting on that a while. I think his agent's telling him to wait because of the Herbert deal right now. I think he's going to wait. Do I think it's going to be team friendly? Absolutely. I actually see T getting done sooner rather than later. Here's why. They've got one more season with Joe Mixon. They've got one more season inevitably with Tyler Boyd. I love both those guys, but you and I both know after this season, it's likely that they're not going to be on this team. That's going to free up a bunch of money for T. So they're going to take the hit now. And if they have to restructure T's contract later on, maybe converting some of that to a roster bonus or some sort of bonus as Joe's contract gets onboarded to retain those weapons, they're going to do so. I compare it to teams like the Green Bay Packers all the time. They do this time in and time out, these big name teams. They'll sign these big deals to these players because they want to keep them around, win ball games, and then when it comes time to pay them, they're like, hey, we're converting it to a roster bonus. And if there's one thing that we saw Cincinnati do this year is they're handing out bonuses to guys like Orlando Brown, something we haven't seen them do in the past. I'm confident that something like that could inevitably come down the line.
Yeah,
So,
I honestly.
So my question would be, is the franchise tag. So we've seen it with AJ Green, the franchise tag, and we've seen it with Jesse Bates. Do you think it's a possibility to franchise tag T. Higgins and then move on from him. Which T, I love T. Anybody that knows like T and his story, his grind mentality, he fits the Bengals so good. And I want to see T just as much as I want to see Jamar. Like Jamar is obviously different, his skill set's different, but T in the Super Bowl, T would have been the MVP of that game. T is a difference maker, possibly one of my favorite players on this team, just because how just kind of low he sits on the totem pole between maybe like DJ Reader, just how much DJ means to the defense, how much Joe means to the offense, and you have Jamar Chase. But he's a lot to this offense. He opens things up a lot. If you look at double coverages, how many catches he's had, he scored multiple touchdowns in double coverages that won us games. Like he is, and Jamar had a big double coverage where he had the safety and the cornerback come up on him, and it was like a 4th down in the championship, the divisional championship. But T has made plays like that consistently. He had the big play in the Super Bowl against Jalen Ramsey, which the face mask thing, whatever, they were letting him play all the way up till the final minute of the game, I guess. But that doesn't matter. But T is somebody I would like to see there, and then be able to make I guess men's with what's his name, his agent.
Yeah, but
David Mulligata.
But like, listen here, breaking news: they're gonna keep T and they're gonna keep Jamar because they're 2 different receivers. They're gonna keep them both. So any sort of rumor or bullcrap that's coming out of Twitter Spaces from other teams, T is not going to any other team. He just straight up won't. I'll say that right now and stand firm because he's such a big body, lengthy receiver. He's a different player than Jamar. They're both good, but they complement each other, and that's why the Bengals offense moves.
I think that the only hesitation that I have to saying that exact thing, T will be here, is his agent.
Yes.
Like, I think his agent, literally his hallmark is, I'm going to get this guy the most money. I'm going to set the market. And T's a guy that, like, you can do that with.
Fine. It's called a roster bonus. I mean, I'm not trying to cut you off, but like they're going to keep T, they're going to keep Jamar.
I'm not saying they're not going to keep him, but I'm saying that agent definitely makes me nervous because if like he's not going to try and get, like, there was a point, and it might even be up until July 1 that he could take something along the lines of like a 3-year extension worth like $25 million a year or whatever, and if they use this season and convert X amount into whatever, then they'll keep him for the next 4, but they'll have him for like $19 million a season or something like that because his salary this year is still low. Yep. So like he would get a bunch of money up front but his agent is like if we offer him a market deal for like the 20th highest paid wide receiver, the 15th highest paid wide receiver or whatever, but his agent says, no, that's not enough. Like it honestly doesn't make sense.
And
to
he's
me.
right. He's right. It isn't enough. But at the end of the day,
hold on. So when is it enough? Because if he's not putting up top 5 numbers, why do you pay him as a top 5 receiver?
He's 1,100. He's maybe not top 5, but he still had 1,100 yards. He's a 1,100-yard receiver.
I'm saying I want him to stay. I'm saying he's a great receiver. I'm saying I think that he should stay, and I think that the Bengals will pay him to stay. But there's got to be a middle ground there because you can't pay him as a top 5 guy, which is guaranteed what his agent is going to want. And then 1 year later, turn around and make Jamar Chase the highest paid wide receiver, which is likely what's going to happen.
But they don't want to be the Buffalo Bills because the Buffalo Bills are a perfect example of paying one really good wide receiver and struggling with the rest. They don't have a solid wide receiver 1A, 1B. They only have Diggs. And I don't think Cincinnati wants to become that.
But the Bills didn't have that 1B to let go that they just didn't pay. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's the distinction there is that, like, we have both those guys right now, but realistically, if it's going to come down to it and T's going to end up with a $28 million a year contract and Jamar is going to be at like 32 or 33 million a year, you can't pay a quarterback what's probably going to amount to $55 million a year, and then pay 2 receivers another $60 million a year. And like, if that's the case, then we now have to now we already have struggle for depth in the receiver room. Now we're going to have no more receivers.
It's going to be roster bonus. It's going to be roster bonus.
Yeah, but roster bonuses still count against the cap. Like
it does it?
Yes. It's prorated over the life of the deal. So I'm no cap expert, but bonuses are like when you get the bonus, let's say it's so for signing bonuses, for example.
Well, I know but
let's say you sign $100 million deal and it's over 5 years. So it's $20 million a year, blah, 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 whatever. But if you sign $50 million as a signing bonus, that $50 million gets evenly distributed over the life of the deal. So that signing bonus is guaranteed money, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million. And then you can split up the salary however you want. You can say base salary, I'm going to pay you 16 million up front because you have 50 million to split out over the next 5 years. I'm going to pay you 16 in base salary and then 12 in base salary and then 8 in base salary. So you know what I mean?
So you hit on some good stuff there, but the Bengals also are notorious for what? They're notorious for paying out their contracts, but they're also notorious for their bonuses being lower. So or not bonuses, but their guaranteed money being lower. So with this agent, just like Jesse Bates, the struggle was having the guaranteed money over the time frame. Now, what the Bengals are going to say, well, we fulfill these contracts 90% of the time. So I just wanted to hit on that. I'm not trying to cut you off, but that was one thing I wanted to hit on. And I think T and Jesse are very complementary to each other. Like they're just
similar.
What they are to the team, like mindset and their mentals are very, very similar. They're not super outspoken, but they're also good team guys. So like Jesse Bates is kind of one of those dudes you're kind of like, man, he might stay. And then he got the the franchise tag and he was tagged. Now, regardless, I think T. Higgins will be a Bengal for the next 2 years. Regardless, either they're going fifth year optioning or the bonus, or it's going to get done. If it doesn't get done this year, that's when I'm worried because I don't think it will get done. I think August, if it's not done by August, I think T will get the franchise tag. He will be here the following year, and we will do the same thing. We'll draft his replacement and then move on. Unfortunately, I don't think any of us want that because we are pretty passionate. We go back and forth on this. We want T. Higgins. T. Higgins is that guy. But you've got to debate who is available and what options for other teams are available at wide receiver. So you always have good wide receiver classes in the draft, and you also have either a stronger weak draft or you have a stronger weak free agency. So I'm not sure what free agents will be available during 2025 free agency period, but during it would probably be like Justin Jefferson would be a dude that would probably be available. He's going to be very high. What's that?
He'll be extended by then.
Yeah, he's going to be a super high end dude. Probably going to be extended. He's a franchise guy. That's going to be a huge priority. So T. Higgins very likely could be the top rated wide receiver, and his agent could say, "Hey, let's wait. Let's just wait. Let's wait this out. Take your 5th year option, ball out again, and then get your big bonus and be that number one." But T is also a guy like Jesse Bates, where a lot of us like, dude, he's a team dude. He's a good guy. I wouldn't say he's not a local dude. Jesse was local to Indiana. We thought maybe he might take a friendly deal, but you got to get paid, and safeties are a lot different than a premium wide receiver. Jesse got paid a good amount of money. He got paid $16 million, but in return, we got a $16 million left tackle that's a 4-time Pro Bowler and 2-time All Pro. So it's just some interesting concepts for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that The hard thing for me is that, like, you mentioned Jesse and T both have, Mulligetta as an agent. And I thought, like, neither one of their personalities, like, strike me as that guy that's going to, like, scratch and claw for every single penny. Because, like, I understand your point for, like, oh, yeah, these guys got to make the money while they can, and it's a short window and this and that. But, like, when it comes down to it, and maybe I just feel a lot different than a lot of people do about this, and I know I'm probably going to get freaking roasted for saying this, but, like,
what we said before our motto, me and Tony's motto.
What's that?
Keep going, Chris. Keep going.
But yeah, I think it's like if you're gonna sign a deal that's like $16.5 million per year over 4 years with one team, but like, and they're gonna give you a fat signing bonus, or you could sign with like the Bengals, who are gonna give you less upfront money, and the contract's gonna be $15.75 million or $15.5 million. So you're
fulfilled is the thing.
What's that?
It's going to be fulfilled with the Bengals.
Right, but what I'm saying is, even if both contracts are fulfilled and you're going to lose $4 million over the life of the deal or whatever, there's got to be a point when you have enough money that you're going to do anything you want in this world. You're going to hook up your parents, you're going to hook up your friends, you're going to, hook up all your family, you're going to have multiple houses, you're going to have multiple expensive cars, all the vacations you want. And like if you get 62 million versus 59 million or whatever, like, but that you're happy in Cincinnati versus like you have to go to a new scheme, to a new coach, to move into a new environment, to like get to know new like, I think that there's value there. And a lot of people will say, oh yeah, the players got to scratch and claw for every penny that they can get while they can make it.
Does that scare you with Brian Callahan? Because we got our coordinators back. Brian Callahan, if this offense does what we think this offense is going to do, which we think it's going to be a top 3 scoring offense in the league, right?
Yeah, he should be a head coach.
Brian Callahan, there's a good chance he's going to be pulled away. So,
But I think if we do have that success, Zach's obviously not leaving. So if Zach Taylor stays in place, Joe Burrow stays in place, I think that you're going to have enough continuity just between those two that, like, there's still options for, like, let's say Troy Walters, gets bumped up to the OC, maybe because he had opportunities, he had interviews to be an OC somewhere else this year. So what if he's just biding his time and he's thinking that same thing? Man, if this offense does what we think it's going to do, then Brian Callahan's going to leave. And like, I could have an opportunity right here where I'm already at. So
they're going to throw everything at the wall this year. They're going to go all out this year because they know something's got to change after this season. I mean, we saw interviews left and right, to your point. I think they're going to try to go all out this year.
Yep.
Yeah. I think, honestly, so this is I'm not going to flip the script on this, but I think Lou, with his age and knowing what he has with this defense is Lou's defense. Lou is the guy in Cincinnati. Everybody loves Lou. Year one, everybody was probably like, Lou, I don't know about this cat. And
hey, I'll be the first one to say it. I was roasting him the first year. I was like, why is he having our defensive end? Why is Carlos Dunlap dropping into coverage? What the heck is going on here? But now I love it.
Yeah, it was very questionable on certain things. And we've seen Trey and Sam both jump back in coverage. And he's a defensive back coach, is his history. He came from defensive back room. He disguises his coverage as well. But I think more than likely, I think Lou deserves the head coaching position maybe more than Brian. Brian's younger. But I think we all believe Zach is kind of the guy. I think they're working together. I think they're tied together, and they're a good balance between each other. Now, Lou, I think Lou's that dude for the defensive side. I think he deserves the head coaching position. Will he get it with his age and an offensive-minded league? He's probably not. So offensively, that makes you think, is Brian Callahan going to get that shot? He had the interview with the Colts. and I'm sure he interviewed well because you can listen to him on multiple different podcasts. I'm not going to go into all of them, but there's a bunch of different podcasts he's been on. And when he talks, he's very just open with his conversations. He's very articulate with what he has to say. He can voice his opinions and his thoughts better than any of us can through a podcast, and it's pretty amazing how he breaks things down. So I don't know what the hiccup is with him, if it's maybe the worry of like Zach Taylor calling the plays, but that's kind of the concern offensively, I think, with maybe him actually getting a shot over Lou, and maybe guys like T wanting to either follow him, move away. I don't know. I think this year is kind of our year to make that mark. And even Joe Burrow said in a press conference, there's a sense of urgency we have. And I think they all know, like, this, very fortunate. The team is very fortunate to have all the coaches, pretty much all the coordinators, all the coordinators and all of the staff together. So it's very, very interesting to me in seeing after this year the way things are going to disperse.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I will go right back to the point. I think they realize that this is the year. I don't want to call any results because I'm just not about that, but they know it's this year. I think, in my personal opinion, do I see Lou and Callahan staying after this season? No. Even if we were to win it all, even if we were to, and same end result, whatever it might be, I don't see them staying, right? I mean, they're if they interviewed once in the off season, they're going to have those same conversations next year, because it's inevitable that at least 15 to 20% of NFL teams every season have a head coaching vacancy. We know there's going to be crappy teams in the NFL this year again that are going to be head coach thirsty, right? So we know they're going to move on. But getting back to the contract, I think we got off topic here for a minute. Getting back to the contract thing and not hitting on this too far. I think some of the things that we're not talking about is the money that they're going to be gaining after the season, right? We're worried about signing T right now and worrying about paying Joe Burrow right away. But the thing we're not talking about is all the players that we're going to be losing after this season. Trey Hendrickson being one of them. I think we can all agree that he's going to be leaving. I think I would put DJ Reader, even though I love him, I'd still put him at risk after this season because of the amount of money he's going to command on the open market. And then another guy that we're not talking about right away, but we think we hit it on a little bit, is Logan Wilson. I know we want to see that guy stay between him and Pratt being on the defense, but if he commands too much money, and I guess we could add Joe Mixon that as well, right?
And Cheeto.
I think he stays, but all these guys that we're going to be purging after this season, I hate using that term, but we're not going to keep all these guys, right? This is the last season we're going to see the Bengals core as it is. How much money are we going to be gaining from that? We could be in a totally different position to talk financials after this season and saying, hey, we are in a position to pay all these guys now. We are in a position to pay Chase. We're in a position to pay Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. And we got to keep in mind, I think they're going to use this season as a little bit of a test flight for guys like Chase Brown to see if they can truly be that number one guy that takes over for Joe Mixon, because I don't think they're totally sold on guys like Evans yet to take over and be that total role. I think they were hoping that Pirine would stay and they'd be able to do that, and that ended up not working out. So now they've got to find that replacement for Joe Mixon, because inevitably he's going to be gone.
Yeah, I think Chase Brown is going to be that. I think Chase Brown is going to surprise some of us. I think Travion Williams is going to surprise some of us. I really think Travion is going to step in. If you look at his production in college, now Travion was a dude in college. In every opportunity he's had this past year, he's produced. On the show we did with Anthony Kazenza, he said, Travion was kind of his black horse, his dark horse option. So we're talking just people we thought that would progress and maybe take that step. So we had multiple people we talked about taking that next step. But Travion, I think I said Dax Hill was going to be my guy. Travion is that dark horse where he's had limited opportunities, but the opportunities he's had, he's produced in. Last year, he produced. In college, he produced really high. So I think Chase Brown I'm not sure about Travion's contract. I don't know if you guys know what his contract looks like and how long he might have. Maybe one more year. He might have.
He's only got to have because he's been around for 2 years. But
Yeah.
I think that this is his last year. So I think he's actually been around for 3.
Okay.
Like I think he was on practice squad like basically the whole year, his first year, and then the last 2 years he's been like sporadic. But I could be wrong about that. So
well, we're all hoping for a jump from one of these guys, right? We saw Peter season before last season being really good, but then in the offseason he built himself up. He became a really, really big specimen in terms physically, and coming out into that last season, I mean, he looked like a better back, right? I'm hoping for that kind of a jump. He wasn't obviously like some phenom of an athlete, but he was solid, and he was able to carry us against these number 1 teams. Case in point, they were able to win versus KC at home, being the RB1, being P. Ryan, right? I think we're all hoping that we see some sort of.
In the championship round, when he took that, I think it was the screen pass in the championship round last year or 2 years ago when he took the one to the house right before halftime. He housed one on a little screen pass. So I think we all have hopes there. But running back is one of those positions where we can kind of find somebody, hopefully second, third. We've been really good at finding guys in the second round. So taking a premium spot, and we're all hoping late round pick. You know, we're hoping that 32nd pick or 32nd pick, right? So this year was a little weird because we had, Miami that like forfeited a pick. So we have 32 picks. So yeah, the 32nd pick is what we're hoping to be at. There could be a stud running back that might fall there because they do fall in. If it doesn't work out that way, that one doesn't fall we like, second round, third round, we've seen it years and years past where we can find decent guys in the second round. So hopefully one of these dudes do take a step. It's kind of weird how Chris Evans has been one of these dudes that he has so much potential, but for whatever reason he's not on the field. Maybe it's just little shortcuts that he's making in practice. Maybe he's not picking up on certain things during practice. It's making some of the coaches mad. He's definitely one of those guys that we hope to see because he could be possibly extremely explosive. But I think Chase Brown is a very dynamic dude. On Twitter before the draft, I posted like his yards after contact, just a bunch of different things he's had, total yardage. He does have a lot of miles on him, but he's still fairly young. Like he might be a little older prospect coming out, but it's not like he's 26, 27-year-old dude. He give us a couple good years, and he's pretty dynamic. So if he can learn pass blocking and stuff, and we get somebody to compliment him, the Bengals are a pass-first team. So we're not a run-first team. We have Joe Burrow. He's going to diagnose the defense. We're going to pass the ball, and we're going to have T for the next 2 years, and with, assuming he's going to be franchise tagged or ascended. And then Jamar, I think we all believe he's going to be he's going to be signed. Jamar's going to be our guy.
He's going to be, but the NFL doesn't value running backs anymore.
Exactly.
They in terms of second-year contracts, they do not or second-term contracts, I should say, they do not value running backs. Case in point, guys like Eckler, they said they wanted to trade. They weren't able to really get out of that. And guys like DeAndre Swift getting cut from Detroit to go to Philadelphia for a pizza box and a case of beer. I mean, they don't pay running backs anymore. They'd rather pay the quarterback and receivers and defensive guys.
Dalvin Cook getting cut too.
Dalvin Cook, great one, yeah.
And there's so much talent at the running back room. Like running backs there's a lot of talented running backs, and you can pull these guys in. They can make a difference. So running, I guess what I'm saying is running back's not a concern to me because I think the Bengals have a history of getting second round running backs that can produce. And if we're drafting where we want, we extend T, and then Jamar the following year, we don't have that. Like we need a receiver. We have a 26-year-old left tackle, and then right tackle. Who knows that conversation is going to be weird, but overall. The offensive line's fairly set. We've drafted early the past couple rounds in defense. If we need a running back, we can get a running back, and it can be late, and we can get a productive running back.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like all of this stuff to circle it all the way around back home. I think one thing that we all agree on is T's going to be on the team for the next couple of years, regardless. No matter what happens or how it
Book
happens.
it. Book it.
Yep.
Print the shirts. Get the new jerseys printed off. I don't care. Breaking news from me. He's staying.
Yep. I mean, I think we all agree with that. He's going to be here for at least 2 more years. Whatever happens, kind of, between now and then, it's up in the air. I hope that he signs another deal, and I think that obviously, if we end up with him and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, Orlando Brown, like if we end up with all these guys signed, like we're going to be solid for a long time. We'll still have to draft well, but it definitely takes some pressure off if you got all that stuff in place.
Yeah. So I got a question. Aaron Rodgers. This is out of left field kind of question. So the Jets, right? How do we feel? That's an AFC team. A lot of people are high on the Jets. What are we thinking? Because I think my teams that are going to be good are going to be. We're going to have the Bengals. That's going to be our division guys. I think obviously the Chiefs, the Bills. I think Miami's going to be tough, and Jacksonville's going to be tough. But there's a lot of people out there talking about the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. He's got a young team. He's got young weapons, some young dudes on defense, some local Ohio guys that we know on offense and defense there. But do you think they're going to be competitors and make a push, or you think Father Time is going to take a hold of old Aaron Rodgers?
Hey, all I have to say about that is we live in Ohio where the Browns have had some pretty talented rosters throughout these last 5, 6, 7 years. And what happens? They stink every year. So all I'm saying is prove it. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks of my lifetime. There is no doubt about that. But what's the offensive line going to look like? Yeah, I know you just drafted another tackle in the first round. Is Mekhi Becton going to come back and play like the top 10 pick or top 15 pick or whatever he was that he was supposed to play like? Is he going to continue to be injured? Is Garrett Wilson a receiver I really believe in? Obviously an Ohio State guy. Is he going to continue that second year uptrend and follow up his rookie year in the same way that he finished? Nobody knows. You know how many rookie receivers come in and they put up numbers for half the season, and then the NFL defenses figure him out and they're able to be keyed in on because he's now the number one guy on that team. I just think there are so many moving pieces with the Jets that I am not ready to say, man, they are really they're up there for favorites to be in the conference championship or anything like that. So I like that team. I think that they do have a really talented roster, but man, prove it first. Prove it. I don't want to hear about what you're going to do, what you're about to do. Just come out, and if you show up and you go 4, 5, 6-0, then let people start talking about it. But
so hitting on them, they got a lot of good tight ends. They've drafted a lot of tight ends here recently. Do you think we might still a tight end?
No.
Well,
I think that we're set with Irv Smith. Is it a perfect scenario in our tight end room? No. But do we really need it to be perfect? No. We've proven that the last couple of years, and I think eventually we either draft a guy that hits. I think they wanted to draft a guy this year, but it just kind of never lined up with where they were picking and the guys that they had on their draft list and that kind of stuff. So I don't think that we'll be getting another tight end from outside of the organization this year. I think that we're going to roll with what we got for now and just worry about the big old stack of contracts that we have to figure out and go from there.
Yeah, they're not going to go after a tight end. They went after and got an SEC guy, Irv Smith, to complement Joe Burrow. I mean, they love their SEC guys on Cincinnati. They love Clemson guys, SEC guys. But unless a big lengthy tight end at a bargain comes available, like maybe a Uzama return to Cincy if he continues to do nothing with New York, which I mean, he wasn't a factor last year. I mean, someone like that at a low budget contract, maybe, but they're not going to prioritize that. And if Irv Smith goes off and does something like Hayden Hurst did last season, I think they're going to try to keep him, but they're not going to overspend for him because they know now officially it's plug and play tight end time with Burrow.
Yeah, I like that. So that was kind of one of our talking points we was talking about, Chris, with Irv Smith. And I think we can all agree we like Irv Smith. In his upside might be a little better than Hayden Hurst. But Hayden, I think Hayden was a little underappreciated. I liked Hayden a lot. And I think a lot of the fan base probably really did like Hayden in letting him go and not getting some of the people that was a Gesicki, Dalton Schultz that was out there. We might have been a little concerned, and I think we're still a little concerned with Irv Smith's injury history, but he's looking good. He in OTAs and or mini camp and all that stuff. Like he's been looking the part. He's looking good. Everything you hear between Brian Callahan, all the tight end coach. I'm forgetting his name, but he's in there. He's learning. He's trying to get the playbook down. He's looking like a pro, and that's what you want to hear. You want to hear about a guy that's learning the playbook. He's a pro. He's getting there with Joe Burrow, learning what he wants and just knowing the playbook in general. But he's also making plays. He was out there in during minicamp making plays, getting receptions. We like to hear that. In his upside, I think we all know he's got a lot of upside with what he's previously done. So I think if he stays healthy, I think he's going to be better than Hayden was, but he doesn't have to be. With this offense, he really doesn't have to be better than a Hayden. He doesn't have to be better than a CJ Uzomah. But if he can play a little better than that, that's going to make a big difference. And as long as he stays healthy and has those same, like if he can get 350, 400 yards, we're going to be cooking. And you have him healthy, I think he's a little more athletic. So I'm happy with that, and he could find himself a big deal. I truly think he could find himself a big deal. And I think like one of you guys previously stated was we could do kind of the year-to-year thing. You know, we can find the next steal of free agency, pull this guy in that has the upside. He has the just ability to make plays when needed to make plays. How do you guys feel about Irv Smith? And he's got the pedigree with his dad. He's got the pedigree. He's a pro's pro.
I mean, I don't know. I've seen a little bit of his highlights. I think he's going to be really good. I talked about this in a previous show, though. The tight end is Joe Burrow's outlet. They may not prioritize contractually or the namesake of who the tight end is, but whoever they go after, I think we found out really quick. You know, I like guys like Sample. I mean, I think the world of him as a person. But from a productive tight end standpoint, Joe uses them time in and time out. He did it all throughout the year last year. He did it in the biggest moments versus the Bills, right? He needs a tight end as an outlet. It's got to be a dynamic athlete. It's got to be a pass catcher. So, I mean, if it's Irv Smith, I like Irv Smith, what I've seen on film, especially from the Vikings when he was healthy. It doesn't have to be an Irv Smith. I think he's going to do really well. Do I think he's going to be as good as Hayden Hurst? I don't know the answer to that question yet, obviously. But whoever it's going to be, he's going to have to be able to catch the ball and catch the ball in traffic.
Yes, sir. So I got a question for kind of fantasy football stuff. Who do you guys think is going to be the number one running back for fantasy football?
McCaffrey.
You think McCaffrey?
I mean, until proven, like until somebody takes the crown, like consistently, I think he's the only guy that's been up there for the last 5 years. You know what I mean? So,
okay. What about Saquon? You think Saquon? Last year he had a good year, and he's healthy coming in. Do you think Saquon's going to take that number one?
I think he can. I just don't know that I trust the Giants enough. Like,
yeah,
if defenses can just key in on Saquon, then eventually his body wears down on him again. And I think he'll for sure be probably a late first round pick, beginning of the second round pick. So he's going to be up there, but running backs are kind of sliding for me. Like I'd rather go in with 2 solid receivers and then not have to worry about the running backs at all, or go 1-1. I used to be running back.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
I mean-
this year's just different. This year feels different.
It does. I mean, you could sell me on an Eckler or a Nick Chubb as well. I think both those guys are super solid. Eckler's proven year after year to be a top 2, top 3 guy in total volume when it comes to fantasy football. And I think we can have an episode here in the future to dedicate towards fantasy. I think I definitely want to do that. But I think you could sell me pretty easily on a Nick Chubb or an Eckler for that number 1 guy in fantasy running backs.
Yeah,
I think the distinction there is you got to distinguish between a PPR league and a non-PPR league, because like non-PPR league, Nick Chubb might be the best running back. And Nick Chubb and James Taylor and Derrick Henry.
Jonathan Taylor.
James,
yeah,
James
Jonathan Taylor.
bro.
My bad. Well, hey,
Hey, guess what bourbon you drinking, brother?
little Woodford Reserve,
Little
double
Woodford.
oak.
There you go. Yeah, I have a little Angel's Envy that Tony turned me on to. I'm not drinking that because, as you guys can tell, I'm a little old daddy's a little tired.
Dusty's about to clock out. As soon as he hits that live button, man, he's clocking out.
No, I'm not.
I see those eyeballs going.
Bro, I gotta stay up at least till 10 o'clock. Yeah, I'm probably looking a little rough. I'm sorry.
You look like a night nurse, bro.
But yeah, no, I'm not going to hit the Angel's Envy. But Tony turned me on to that. Tony's sticking to the lattes, but that guy, man, he put me on to, I don't even know what we drank in Indiana, and he was like, bro, try this, like a $300 bottle of bourbon. I'm like, I took a sip of it, and I'm like, dude, this tastes like straight gasoline. I was like, I'll stick to the Angel's Envy or the Eagle Rare. I was like, the Eagle Rare and Angel's Envy ain't bad, but this stuff, man, that was potent. I don't know what you had, Tony, but ooh.
Hey, look out. Bengals Army fans, coming up next week, we're going to do T's Bourbon Corner, where I feature a bourbon, and we'll talk about it. All the notes and all the stupid stuff like that, we'll talk about it. Coming up.
Really very piney.
Getting vanilla notes and leather.
Yeah, he was talking some crazy stuff to me. He's like, oh, dude, you got to try this. This is in Ohio. This is like a $60 pour right here. And then I felt bad. I'm like, dude, I kind of feel guilty. Like, I don't want to take a sip of this stuff. It's, it's expensive, And I was like, he's like, I'll try it. So I try it, and it was strong. He was like, oh yeah, it's like 110 proof. I was like, dude, this tastes like straight gasoline. Like, I do not enjoy this at all. Yeah, Tony was trying to teach me about bourbons. I have a 2 to 3 that I like and enjoy to drink. When you get to them higher proofs, my palate, as Tony would say, you got to train that palate.
Hey, that's right, man. We'll get your palate up. Hopefully by episode 10, we'll have that palate nice and developed, as they would say.
So the thing is, I like sticking to like the go-tos. If you have a couple go-tos, I'm cool with that. I don't need to advance. I'll just stay at those few go-tos, enjoy them. It's nice to do a little taste test, like when you give me a little taste test and stuff, but developing that, man, it kind of hurts. It's a little burn in the old esophagus. All right, fellas. Anything else we want to hit on? Orlando Brown, we kind of wanted to talk about him and his comments. Chris, did you have any statements on what Orlando Brown said? Because I don't feel like that was much of an insult. I feel like it was really just an honest statement.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's not newsworthy or we got to talk about it because it's like, oh, it's beef between the teams and blah, blah, blah again. But I think that his comments like about Joe Burrow and like Joe Burrow will probably release the ball more often than not from like 7 yards in the pocket, where Patrick Mahomes will be 12 yards back, and like how that will help him to not let the speed rushers get all the way upfield and just run around him basically. I think that stuff is like really interesting. And before I heard Orlando Brown say that, like that's not really something that I consciously thought about. Like, you know what I mean? I hear all the things that the pundits say and all the things that the Chiefs fans say. Oh, well, Orlando Brown, he's actually not that good. He just a speed rusher will just beat him upfield and blah blah blah. But like, it makes sense to me that if the edge rusher, has to take a much tighter angle, then you can't just outrun a guy. And when you got to take a tighter angle, it's a lot harder to beat a guy that's, what is he, 6'7", 6'8", 375 pounds. Like, it's a lot harder to go through a guy, even if you just got to get a piece of him. And then if he's got good chemistry with Cordell Volson and they're passing guys off back and forth, then like, I think Orlando Brown's game still has a lot of potential to go up instead of.
And he's young, bro.
Yep.
26. I believe he's 26. I could be wrong. He might be going into 27. But he's not old. And you're talking about 4 Pro Bowls. You don't now Pro Bowls, all pros is kind of a popularity contest. It's kind of weird. Not sure how much I truly believe in those, but he's done it. He has the accolades. He's done it. And when you have a guy like you said, Patrick Mahomes, who he'll scramble, he'll do different things. Now, Tom Brady. Let's go to Tom Brady. What did he have that was really great? Pocket presence. Very subtle movements. He was able to manipulate a defense into what he wanted the defense to do. He'd read it. He could audible. He could do things. He could understand what they're going to do. Joe Burrow is same mold. He understands. Okay, what he thinks. It's kind of like a gambling aspect. Okay, 75% in my head is saying this dude's going to do this. What's that eyebrow raise, man? You agreeing with me, or you just got a little?
Sometimes I just got a little tick,
Okay, I thought you were giving me like
no.
Close to show up, or you're like, no, I'm getting tired, bro. And I'm like,
Dusty's going off into left field right now because he's getting tired. So
yeah, here we go. I am getting a little tired, but let's go back to Tom Brady. Them subtle movements, understanding what the defense is doing. Joe Burrow is more at that. Patrick Mahomes can create on his own, but if you give Joe Burrow, I think it might have been Joe Goodberry that was showed some stats on like Joe Burrow's if he has 3 seconds to throw the ball, what he does, like his percentages and a bunch of different things. Whoever's listening to the show, go to Joe Goodberry's tweet and look what he stated, because I'm not going to state it verbatim because I don't remember and I'm tired, like Tony said. But Joe, if you give him 3 seconds, he's gonna make something happen. And if you have a left tackle that can give you 3 seconds, that's all you need. That's all we need. We don't need a number 1 offensive line. We need an average offensive line. We have the weapons. They will separate. They will make a play. And we have the running backs too. Joe Mixon, and then we have Irv Smith, like we talked about. We have these young running backs that are outlets. The running backs are outlets. Tight ends are outlets. If nobody's open, Joe, give him time. He will make something happen. So I'm very happy with Orlando Brown, and I really think Orlando Brown is going to show. I think he's going to show the Chiefs, man, because he didn't go to the ring ceremony. Whatever, and he's invested to this team. He's invested to the city. You can tell everybody I talk to that's gone and done different signings and stuff, and Orlando Brown's been at. He's super personal, super good dude. And that could all be a part of their, just some people are really good at public speaking and like creating friends and getting public opinion to vote for and become fans. So that could be part of it. But also he seems excited to be here, which is great. Like, we want a guy that wants to be in Cincinnati. He looks like he wants to be in Cincinnati. He acts like he wants to be in Cincinnati. All the players that talk about him talk highly. I think he's going to be I think him and moving Jonah, I think this offensive line is going to be average, and that's what we need. So I'll end it short right there. Long story short. Short answer, long story. How you feel about it, Tony?
I'm just so glad you stopped talking. I'm just kidding.
Easy, Tony. Easy.
Hey.
Sometimes you gotta ramble, man.
I kid.
I know.
All right, boys. Well, it's been a good one. So I think it's about time we wrap it up. We can go put all these little these little guys to bed, you know.
I feel it. It was a good one. We covered a lot of stuff. Looking forward to talking to you guys here real soon. Hopefully in the next few days we get some sort of signing or extension going on and we're like, hey, let's hop on.
Yeah, July 1. After July, I'm getting ready for little, even if it's just little things. I think there's going to be a steady stream of a couple things happening a week or whatever, but we'll see. But yeah, if you guys haven't already, if you like the show, obviously subscribe, like, leave us some comments. Tell us what you like about the show. Tell us what you don't like about the show. Follow us on Twitter at Bengals Army 1. And same thing on there. Just follow us, retweet some stuff. We like to talk Bengals stuff. We like to get the conversation going. We should be ready to have a small little giveaway here soon. More information to come about that. So just check out the Twitter page, and we will hopefully get going on that sometime soon. So yeah,
Sure.
You guys have anything to close?
Nah.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the. I think we got around 34 subscribers. We've only been doing this for 4 weeks, a little over a month, maybe 5 weeks. So everyone that has subscribed, I want to thank you. Yeah, cheers to you guys. We definitely appreciate it. We're doing it for our own fun, kicking back, talking some Bengals and stuff. But we love having other people. I know we've all kind of had people kick in and tell us different things about the show that they liked, didn't like, whatever. For the majority of the things, I've had people, even some of my bosses, have watched the show and they're like, "Man, I like this or that. You guys are doing good." So we appreciate all the feedback. We appreciate the people that took the time out of their day to subscribe. I know some people might listen to the show because we have 100 and some views on a lot of our shows that maybe you don't subscribe to it. And I know sometimes it's annoying going and subscribing. So we do appreciate people that actually view it, watch it, follow us on Twitter. We appreciate all of you guys, and we appreciate your feedback. Tony, we're glad to see that you're not in your bed.
Hey, for all you listeners out there, listen. All right. Setting up a new office space. That's all I had.
Well, sorry, Tony. I was laughing.
And that's it. He gets no chance to explain himself. That's it.
And that's the end of the show.
No, my bad. I didn't mean to click that. I just had my finger hovering. I went to hit it down.
It's all good. No.
Elephant in the room. That's what
my
you
point
said,
there.
Tony. You said elephant in the room. We're going to
shortly.
Tony, you said elephant in the room. We're going to discuss this. That's what you said.
What?
Chris, do you remember that? He said, "Oh, we're going to discuss the elephant in the room" when he was on the bed. Nobody remembers that.
I don't.
I'll go
When
back
did
and
you say this?
On next episode.
I'll go back and clip it. Well, I can't clip it because it was after we pre-recorded, and Tony had his Bluetooth connected, and he said he was on the bed, and he said, "Elephant in the room. I want to hit on this about people talking about him sleeping on his bed." But for everybody,
next time on Bengals Army After Dark.
Yeah.
Just know the permanent recording space is incoming. All right, all you people that are concerned about my health and well-being and roasting me about the bed. Everyone's got a bed. All right, I just chose.
I mean, yeah, God's gonna end up with back problems. We're gonna see Tony in 5 years just hunched over, just going up to his clock tower, ready to ring the dong.
All right, fellas, it's time to close this. I already tried to close it on Tony by accident, but no,
Peace.
I'll close it out. Thanks to everyone that's listening. We got Spotify, we got Twitter, we got YouTube. Follow us. Pretty much everything Bengals Army. You can get on there. You can find us. Thanks to everybody, and I hope you guys have a good day. Off season's about over, so we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Who day?
Who dey?
Who dey?